I'm Tom and I'm an addict.
Hi, Tom.
You know what I'm really addicted to? Is red pilling people. And sometimes I just can't shut it off. I just can't help myself.
Are there any adverse side effects?
Definitely, because you know what happens? Sometimes there's like no filter and I just keep going and going and I can't shut it off. And I get really intense, and people just think I'm crazy, and they want to disconnect, and they want to get the hell out of the conversation or away from me. Like family members and friends are just like so sick of me talking about this crazy, crazy stuff because it sounds so bizarre. Because, how's that saying go?
Truth is stranger than fiction.
That's it. See, you're like finishing my sentence.
Yep,
that's
how that
unbelievable.
works.
Because you know what? We're like aligned. We're like on the same page.
Well, you red-pilled me. I mean, we met at a baby shower, started talking about aliens because obviously Ancient Aliens is the best show of all time. You're welcome for the plug.
No, Ancient Aliens and the New World Order by Jim Mars on YouTube.
Is the best. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
I stand corrected. But, anyways, long story short, you red-pilled me at a party, and since then, it's my life's just been this just crazy whirlwind of information. Everything from, QAnon to pedophile rings being busted up to, you name it, Bohemian Club, Alex Jones being censored off the internet into oblivion. If everything he's saying is completely bogus, why is he gone?
Right, because he's over the target. So we're at the baby shower. I'm just like minding my own business, at my friend's activity, and then all of a sudden you say Anunnaki. I'm like, whoa, that's like triggered me.
Immediately triggered the red pill.
Right, because I just finished watching something very related to that.
Yeah,
and it's something I've been researching for years. And based on that, I broke out the smartphone, started showing you pictures, and I'm like, "Oh yeah, look at this."
So the whole reason we wanted to throw this together is every one of us has friends and family members who, if you have been red-pilled, there's a lot of just crazy stuff going on in the world that you don't see on the news, and you want to share it. The Bible says if you have a light, you don't hide it under a rock. So long story short, some of that information is pretty intense. And if you don't roll it out the right way, you can super alienate people and dissolve relationships virtually overnight. Trust me, we've done it all, trial and error. So we thought we'd put together a little kind of a help or a cheat sheet for, how to red pill friends, family, neighbors, gas station clerks. Nobody's safe from the red pill. Nobody.
I know. I even threw a subliminal message at McDonald's just now. I said, I'll have a hamburger, fries, and a soda. Oh, yeah. And you might just shoot me.
because of the GMOs. I'm a goner anyway.
When I show up, just shoot me.
Oh, my gosh. This is so awesome. So initially, I tried a couple things out. Family is the absolute hardest. We've all lost friends and stuff. Those of you guys who have tried to red pill and wake up friends or family members to what's going on in the world know that family is the absolute toughest, which me and my dad couldn't be more polar opposite. He's like a Bernie Sanders delegate, and I'm like a freaking forever Trumper. I just bleed red, white, and blue, and he just can't stand it. So if you guys have struggled with that, we're going to try to get you some help. We have fine-tuned the red pill. Wouldn't you agree?
I don't know about that. I don't know if it's fine-tuned.
We're getting there. It's getting there.
What's really important is to have the self-awareness when you see someone squirming in their chair, or is this too much for them, just to back off.
You can only absorb so much. It's like, and we've all seen that movie, The Matrix. Some minds cannot be woke up. Basically, they're too embedded in that old system, and not everybody can be awake to it. In the Bible, it talks about a spirit of discernment. I think some people that are spiritual in nature, they have that spirit of discernment that allows them to receive the information. Some people can't. Some people are just too deep. And, don't beat yourself up. Some people just can't be saved. I mean, that's the long and the short of it. Would you agree?
Yeah, that's definitely true.
And you have to have the awareness to know when somebody's eyes have glazed over and they're checked out. I mean, don't waste your energy. If there's no gain, don't do it.
Right. You know what happens is I tend to have unrealistic expectations of others, and I tend to think that some people I know are really intelligent, and maybe they could be open-minded for an intellectual discussion and with some really good information backed up by tons of proof. So when I'm like backing this stuff up with proof and I got it on my phone, even though I can prove everything I'm saying, it's still too much for them, and people just want to go back to sleep.
Well, people don't want to look crazy. They don't want to sound silly, and people care so much about what people around them think. I'm the complete polar opposite. I could give a shit if you like me or not. I'm a very unique flavor. I'm like sherbet ice cream. I'm loud and I'm coming at you. Either you love me or you hate me. I don't really care which one of those you are. So,
right, I'm shameless.
Yeah, I have no filter. I'm just going to be me. But
that's why we're talking.
Yeah, that's probably how we ended up at this juncture.
Right. If you weren't on that page, we wouldn't even be talking right now. I'd be like talking to myself through this microphone.
So if you are listening to this video, it is not by accident. You're here for a reason. You feel alone. You've been by yourself. And we all want community. Okay? You're not alone. There's a bunch of us out there who are waking up more by the day. So how do we wake up our friends and neighbors? I will tell you, me personally, I'm a why guy. I like to start with belief systems. So, for example, I had a guy at work the other day who, I brought up the topic of red pill and like how I'm addicted to red pilling people. He's like, well, what do you mean? He's like, do you mean like the Matrix red pill? I'm like, well, yeah. I'm like, do you remember the movie? Take the red pill, you see how deep the rabbit hole goes. Long story short, those people that are red-pilled are aware of what's really going on in the world. Not what you see on the news, but what's really actually going on. And he goes, well, I'd be interested in that. Huge mistake. That gave me my opening, right? And so I said, okay, well, have you heard of the Bohemian Club? He goes, what's that? I go, well, you've got a computer in your pocket. Pull out your phone, type that in, and tell me what it is. So I'm having him find his own answers. If I just tell him what it is, the likelihood that he won't believe me is high. So I want to ask him the right questions, right? So what's the Bohemian Club? Okay. So what is the cremation of care? Which that's where they burn a little child coffin in front of a giant owl in the middle of the woods. There's videos of it. And he's like, well, what the hell is this? And the guy I was talking to, he's an ex-pastor. I said, well, you've heard of Moloch, right? He's like, Moloch, like from the Old Testament? I go, yeah. I go, so what can you tell me about Moloch? And he goes, well, that was like the god of child sacrifice. Which he looked it up, he confirmed it. And so right there, I knew I had him. Because it started connecting dots. I go, so if you have Bill Clinton, Ronald Reagan, Richard Nixon, Bush Sr., Bush Jr., if you have all these guys part of this club where they follow the deity Moloch, who is the god of child sacrifice, here's what you need to ask yourself. Why? Okay? And if they do, which I've just showed you proof that they do, you found it yourself. If those are my belief systems, basically that I'm going to worship a god of child sacrifice, what else is possible? So you got to start with what their belief systems are. Otherwise, nothing else will make sense. For me, that's where I start with people. And I basically told them, listen, there's no way you can handle more. That's all you get for today. I'd love to tell you more because there's just a ton of information, but you're not ready for black belt material. It's like you got to walk before you run. And so the fact that I cut him off and I didn't overload him, like the next day he had more questions, which was pretty cool. He's like, you ruined me. I got a text from him 5 hours later that he was still reading about it, which I sent him a link like, hey, what's up with the owl and the elites? there's a pretty good website that just had all kinds of information he dove into. So far, that's been my best approach for kind of getting people just interested, getting their toe in the water. Your approach is maybe a little more direct.
Yeah, sometimes it's too direct, and I can tell you something negative that happened to me. Is because I've been my daughter. She was volunteering to get Obama elected, and then my employer. She's a liberal, progressive, leftist, geez. Fully involved. Both her
just
sons moved to. One of her sons moved into Washington D.C. He's politically active. So she came into that work environment when she was 18, and she got brainwashed into that whole. Cult, the leftist progressive.
Well, it's on every channel when you turn on the TV.
So she's super unteachable. And I remember about a couple of years ago, she went to Japan. But you know what happened right before she went to Japan? There's a bunch of nuclear stuff jumping off, nuclear testing with North Korea, shooting nukes. Or missiles toward Japan as practice. I mean, she goes to Japan the next day, right? And I found out from my wife, who didn't tell me.
Sure, why not? Makes total sense.
Yeah. What kind of dumbass wants to go to Japan the day after a missile is fired toward it, right? So I text her a message, and I said, the battle group, the United States battle group's going towards North Korea to try and de-escalate or stop this whole missile movement, because we're about to go to nuclear war, it looks like, and I suggest you get back to the United States right away. So you know what she did? She didn't respond to me, but she texted my wife, tell Tom never to contact me again, ever.
Wow.
Yeah, it's like total betrayal. I'm trying to look out for her, give her some really good information. Jeez. Even though I put her through college, and even though I bought her 3 cars to get her to get to work, even though I got her the job, even though she's the only reason why she's successful in New York is because she was provided with education and the work ethic and knowledge to get her there. But because she doesn't share the same belief system as me, she's going to just completely disconnect when I try to warn her, because I'm afraid of her life.
Yeah. Total betrayal.
So, sometimes, we just have to, let people do their own thing and let them go. And I was, super hurt and betrayed by that. And it was, really, and it's a ruined relationship. It's really sad, and I've been had a lot of heartbreak and tears over it for a long time.
Because the only reason you're reaching out is because you care about her. You want her to be safe. What's actually going on, and it's frustrating when it's the sirens are going off and you try to pass somebody a helmet and they're just like, no, I won't put the helmet on. I'd rather get my head bashed. It's the sirens are going off. Please fucking put the helmet on. It's what do you got to do?
So check this out. She just got married, right?
Oh gosh,
I was in her.
It gets better.
This gets better. So I went to her wedding in Maine last weekend, and you know where she's going on her honeymoon? Gosh. She's going to Paris and Italy.
Oh right? Yeah.
Total invasion, Muslim invasion, jihadis everywhere, no-goes all over the place. So now I'm instead of warning her, I'm like, yeah, go ahead. Have a good time.
Have a great trip.
Have a great trip.
If you see anybody with a white van that's just free candy on the side, hop in.
So maybe she's going to get the hands-on experience of how the face of Europe's been completely changed, because we went on a Mediterranean cruise about 14 years ago when she was 17 years old. So she got to see what Europe was like then. That's the time to go. Now, no, don't even go there. You're in danger. So maybe she might have an awakening once she gets back from her honeymoon. Maybe she'll want to ask me some questions.
So obviously we both have frustrating, and I guarantee you, anybody listening, you have somebody pops in your mind. For me, it's my dad. For Tom, it's his daughter. There's that one person who we have tried to wake up so hard because we care about them, and they're just not open to the information. And any advice you have for people who are trying to wake up friends or family, and I feel like family's the toughest. Family's the toughest because they're just going to think you're weird out of the gate because it's like, well, I didn't know you thought like that. They think they know you, but when you wake up, there's so much in your mind that changes that I think it throws them for a loop more than maybe even friends.
Yeah, and some people they're just too smart. They're know-it-alls. Like for example, my father, he was an officer in the military. He was a doctor. In fact, he's the director of a bunch of doctors at a hospital, retired. Uh-huh. So having these educational credentials and high-level credentials, what could I possibly teach him?
Yeah, it almost creates blinders.
Total blinders.
Their cup's full. You can't add anything to it.
He lives in L.A., right in the heart of like, he's like living in Sodom and Gomorrah,
Sure.
And you know what he did? He spent like $1 million building this house in a shitty neighborhood. Right?
What?
I know, it's unbelievable. And he's got a generator attached to his house in case there's a blackout, right? Because he wants to be prepared or something.
Wow.
I mean, and then so the blackout comes, sure enough, and he's got a neighbor knocking on his door saying, "How come you have power and we don't?" I'm like,
right?
So
they're stacked on top of each other.
He went. So he's over, and he's telling me about how smart he is because he's prepared for the blackout. And I said, hey, when there's a real crisis, what's going to happen is you're going to have lights on, and you have like all these low-income people surrounding you. They're coming over. They're coming. Are you able to defend yourself? He's all, yeah, I got this 410 shotgun. Oh, you mean the shotgun was only got one shot? I mean that shotgun? Well, I got the double barrel. Oh, you mean the one that's got the missing firing pin in the other barrel? I'm like, do you really have what it takes to protect yourself in this situation?
Right.
I'm like, the best situation in an emergency, you want to be out of a major city.
Well, and so just kind of like circling the wagons, I think, again, that's also identifying, okay, people we can wake up, people we can't. What questions... because I feel like questions, anybody who's followed the Q movement, what he does is he asks questions. And when people come up with their own answers, they believe them. Like if I tell you what to think, you're going to resist that. Like you're not going to tell me how to think. You know what I mean? That's just people's nature. Even if what you're saying is accurate and true. Nobody likes to be told what to do or told what to think. So, are there any questions that you like to use or ask that you feel like have been pretty effective in the past? Or do you more use? Are you more situational?
I like to use history.
Yeah.
You know what? I like to. When my dad went to visit me, I start him off with this Stefan Molyneux talk about Rome and parallels of Rome. And that is just, it's like a two hour instruction on the history of Rome and its collapse, which is identical with what's going on now. So
I mean, the football stadiums look exactly like the ancient Colosseums, except they seat far more people than the old Colosseum did.
Right?
I mean, it's virtually the same design.
So, like for example, so when you get someone to listen to watch that together, hey, you like history? Oh, check this out. Here, let's watch this together, and you can just like throw them a curveball, right?
Sure.
And then say, hey, and then because Stefan was spilling it out in a way where, like for example, the debt, the 20 trillion debt, and the money printing, and what they did in Rome is used to be 100% silver, the coins. Then it was 80%, then it was 70%, and then it was 50%, then it was like 5%. And it came to a point like we're talking like over hundreds of years. It was when it went down that much.
Progressive, right?
Yeah, slow progression where no one really noticed anything.
Yeah.
And then so when that currency was null and void and no one was taking it anymore. The soldiers is what they did was say, hey, you have to pay us in gold. The thing is, they didn't have any gold left because they all got squandered or spent in other areas throughout the empire, so they couldn't pay the soldiers to protect itself, and the borders started collapsing. So that's like identical with the currency being multiplied in so many ways, right? So that's like one factor that's a parallel in Roman Empire. Another one was when they started capturing all these slaves, and they bring all these slaves in to work in the fields. When 10 slaves were working in the field, they were able to make this product, right?
Sure.
You like all these landowners, right? Who could not compete because they didn't have the manpower to make that, to get the same product. So like what happened was those people walked away from their jobs because you get free entertainment in Rome at the Colosseum and get free bread and get free water. Hey, you know what's the point? I don't need to be a landowner anymore. I'm gonna go get my free stuff, my entitlements, in the city of Rome and get entertained. Does any of this sound familiar?
So just kind of like looking at what you're saying there, it sounds like to me you use videos quite a bit. Like initially when you're kind of waking people up, it's like edutainment's kind of a good resource, which we can share that. Stefan Molyneux, we can put that link in the comments below.
Another really good one that he did.
What videos are your favorite? So The Fall of Rome.
Yeah, and
what else?
Like the other Stefan Molyneux, what I played for my dad was The Truth About the Crusades. That's a really good one because that's about the Muslim invasion way back in the day,
and that
which is identical
history
of what's going on right now.
Sure.
When Soros is bringing all those on boats, bringing them in from Africa into flooding Europe. When they have when they have all the Syrians or people from Iraq or Afghanistan coming in flooding Europe, it's identical of the Crusades. So like when you see all these parallels, so you basically trick them into watching these educational history videos,
right? And
then all of a sudden, like, whoa, this is what's going on right now. And then all of a sudden, you just planted a seed.
Oh yeah.
And then after that, you know what I did? After I put the truth about slavery, the truth about the Rome, the truth about the Crusades, all Stefan Molyneux, then I want to go on YouTube and I typed in European migrant violence compilation, right? And then you start seeing all this heinous stuff, what's going on right now, and they're like, whoa. And he goes, man, it's a good thing that's not happening here. I'm like, wrong. It is happening here.
Wrong.
Check out this YouTube video.
You sound like Trump. Wrong.
Check out this YouTube video of Minnesota, right? And the Muslim invasion where the city's got all this, Arabic crap all over it. A total takeover of these small towns in Minnesota. Look at this one. Hey, look at this thing on the Alex Jones show where they showed that the mall was that Minnesota? The mall with they got everyone in their hijabs all over the place. Doesn't even look like we're in America, And then you start talking about the invasion of all the Hispanic culture coming in from their collapsed nations in the South, hitting the border.
So so that's like a slow progression, I guess. The number one video I share is that Bohemian Grove. I don't share like the full video. I just show the clip of Alex Jones where they're doing the cremation of care, and it shows the owl. So that's my favorite video probably that I start with. And then you can follow it. You got The Fall of Rome, which is Stefan Molyneux. You can find him on YouTube. You have the what was the other one? The Fall of Rome.
The Truth About the Crusades.
Truth About the Crusades is excellent.
Truth About Slavery.
Truth About Slavery. Now that's just one resource. There's also, if you want to look at the trafficking side of things, because there's a lot of human trafficking, and that's in a lot of the Q posts. SGT Report, they're a great resource there.
Oh, you know what my favorite is? X22 Report.
It's very condensed.
Yes, each video is only like 15 minutes long. Because a lot of people have ADD and they don't have time to watch like an hour-long, talk on history. But that's like, it just cuts right to the chase. I wouldn't suggest talking about Alex Jones or bringing up InfoWars because people are so brainwashed they're going to instantly shut down. You can bring that
and he's so dramatic that he does turn some people off.
Don't get me wrong, Alex Jones woke me up. He's like one of my favorite people in the world.
One of my favorite videos is the one with him and Joe Rogan and Eddie Bravo.
Right.
And I think it was the 9/11 podcast that Joe Rogan did, but it was just freaking amazing because they cite a lot of facts. So that was actually a really huge eye opener for me. I think that was one of the big videos that woke me up actually.
You know what's another good one?
And it's hilarious. It's just totally hilarious.
This other really good one is like 15 minutes long. It's called The Truth About Refugees by Paul Joseph Watson.
Oh yeah, he's really good.
Yeah,
he's the British guy.
Yeah,
I like him.
And they show the ships picking up all these migrants in South Africa. No, northern Africa, pick them up on these little boats that hold about 50 people each, and they they pick up like 6, 7 boats in a row. These ships, and they take them all up, drop them off in Italy, Greece, Spain, and they show all this footage of all these guys just getting off and just running into the hills. Jeez. Just total takeover, and those boats are going 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, bringing them all in there.
So here's the deal. I mean, I feel like it's our duty to wake people up, because if we don't, just like Rome, our country will fall.
Right.
Please reach out to your friends, your neighbors, your pastors, church mates, schoolmates, you name it. Reach out to them. Try to share some truth with them. Here's the deal. It's kind of like the way you eat an elephant, a bite at a time. Take it a bite at a time. People can only handle so much, and you can tell when they're at max capacity, even though when you have this information and you do know these facts, it's so interesting. You want to share everything, but people can only process so much at one time. So, long story short, I hope this has been helpful. Would love to hear about different experiences you guys have had trying to red pill your friends, neighbors, different frustrations. If we can help, we're here for you. I hope this video was a blessing to you guys. Just share the links, share it with your friends. Good luck waking up your friends, your neighbors. Anything to add?
Yeah, I got one thing to add. There was this priest at this church, new church we went to.
Yeah.
The guy was larger than life. I thought he was awesome. I'm like, I need to be talking to this guy. So because I'm thinking he'd be able to share some really important information with his flock. So I call him up. I go in there for a one-on-one meeting. I'm in there and I'm showing him these notes I've taken, and I'm basically red pilling the priest, because I'm thinking he's a smart guy, and I'm using Bible verses and all these things to apply to it, and then he goes, somehow the topic of guns, defending myself, comes up, and he says to me with his tone, and what would you do with your guns, right? I'm like, what? I'm like thinking, this guy is trying to get me to say something like negative or aggressive so he can like rat me out or call the cops. I'm like, oh my God, this guy's one of them. This priest is compromised, and he's just beating around the bush, just doing his regular thing and brainwashing his sheep, but not ever talking about anything of substance that has to do with reality, and I just never went back there.
Yeah,
total setup. You know what? I have PTSD real bad, and one of the symptoms is survivor's guilt. If I see something, I don't say something, and something does happen, I'm gonna think, man, there's something I could have said. There's something I could have done. I should have said something. I should have done more. But so you know what we're doing right now? We're making this video to try and wake people up. And if you're hearing this, I inspire you to do the same, because something is about to happen. I can feel it.
It's not an accident that you guys clicked on that link. It's not an accident. There are no accidents.
We'll catch you later.
See you on the next time.